Hello and Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so lovely to be with you on this Erev Shabbat.
So lovely to be with... Oh, you guys are supposed to join me.
So nice to be with all of you too. Great. Okay, I'm glad we had this moment of sharing, connecting with one another. That was beautiful. Thank you. Very nice. We are thrilled. It is almost Shabbat. The sun will go down soon. It is very exciting for us. This is our last service in the chapel for the season. I know. We will be switching into the sanctuary next week. Is that right? I'm right. Am I right?
For the first time.
For the first time.
Yeah.
For the first time in forever. Yes. So we'll be switching next week into the sanctuary. Same time though, 6:30. Same time, but same bat time, different bat channel, because we're going to be in the other room. So it is nice. So soak in the good vibe of the chapel tonight as we get to hang out. Although you can always come and visit us in the chapel on Shabbat mornings, because Shabbat morning service and Torah study is always in here. So you can. It's not like you're waving bye-bye to the chapel, but on Friday nights. This is our last Friday night. If you are visiting us for the first time physically in the room, hello and welcome to Congregation B'nai Israel. We are thrilled that you're here. If you're looking for a prayer book, by the way, they are under your seats. You can just reach underneath there. Make sure you have the right book. It should be a kind of thinnish blue book, and it should say Mishkan Tfilah on the cover. If you might have another blue book that says Torah on it, also an excellent book, but not for tonight. So reach under there. Also check the thin blue book. If there isn't one underneath your chair, maybe there's one underneath a couple of chairs to the right or left of you. And also make sure that your cover of your book says Shabbat, because we actually used our other books the other day, and some of them might say weekday and festival. So make sure your cover says Shabbat and not weekday and festival. Those are all the check-ins. Also, hello on our live stream. Hopefully our live stream is functioning and working. I'm getting the thumbs up from our official our official Schwartz checker, which I appreciate. So it is functioning. So welcome to everyone on our live stream. Hello. If you're here for the first time or for the 50th time, same spiel about how you can join us for every part of the service to pray along and chant along. Go to our website, cbiboca.org, top left corner, hit menu. After menu, hit services, scroll down a little bit. You'll see a lovely photo of Cantor Muchnick. And right next to that punim, there will be a little button that you can press. And then that will take you to our live stream.
My GoFundMe page.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole other website, but but yes. And so that way you can follow along with every part of our service. This fine evening, it's kind of fun. There's a simulcast going on at the same time we're having services, but it's also really nice here at CBI that we're having a youth event. So is happening also. So I think there are approximately 20 teens that are hanging out tonight and doing Shabbat and some programming upstairs also. So it is a fun CBI night here. We'll give you some plugs of what's happening next week. Also, next week's going to be incredible. We'll do that at the announcement window. But we're going to continue with officially beginning Shabbat and lighting Shabbat candles. We're going to surprise Susie and ask her to come light our Shabbat candles. Susie is our ritual chair here at CBI. We'll ask her to light Shabbat candles. We're on page 2, by the way. So that's virtual page 2 or physically page 2, where we will be lighting our Shabbat candles.
Lehaligner shel Shabbat.
Thank you, Susie. Now that our Shabbat candles are lit, we can for sure exhale that previous week. Let it all out. Maybe some of the challenges or frustrations are now gone. Some of the really, really good stuff that might have happened for us, we can breathe into our Shabbat as well now, our 25 hours of being together, our little gift that we get every single week to appreciate what the rabbis deemed 1/60th of paradise is Shabbat. And so we get to treasure Shabbat this way. And we get to further sweeten our Shabbat after we've sanctified it and made our time holy with the words of Kiddush, with our Kiddush. That can be found on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim ki vanu bacharta ve'otzanu kidashta mikol amim ve'shabbat kodshecha Be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
Now that we have sanctified our time and we have sweetened it with the words of Kiddush, we get to continue by connecting with our Kabbalat Shabbat, the queen the queen of Shabbat that gets to hang out with us during these 25 hours, makes studying a little bit deeper, makes our relationships a little bit stronger, makes the challah a little tastier, even though I don't know how you could do that because challah is perfect, but it makes it just a little tastier. And so we appreciate that with Kabbalat Shabbat, with our section of Psalms. We continue now with Psalm 98, which can be found on page 16. continue now with perhaps the crown of Kabbalat Shabbat, the words of Lecha Dodi, which can be found on page 20 and 21. We'll be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. 1, 2, 5, and 9, pages 20 and 21. When we get to verse number 9, we'll be standing and facing the door to welcome in the Shabbat bride. We continue now, Lecha Dodi.
Shamor v'zachor b'diborecha ishmi'anu el hamelcha Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet v'litzila Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat lekamela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor haberacha Beirosh mikedem nesucha sof maseh b'machshava techila Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat lekamela Hitoreri ki ba'orech u'mi'ori Uri shir daberi hevon Adonai alayich nigla Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat lekamela
We stand and welcome the Shabbat bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam simcha v'tzola toch emunei am segula boi chala Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat lekamela Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat lekamela
Please be seated. We continue with Chatzi Kaddish, which can be found on page 26.
Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei rabba Be'olma divrach yirute ve'yamlich malchute Becha yechon v'yom echon Uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael Ba'agala Uvizman kariv Ve'immeru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach, Leolam Lol Mehamaya Yitbarach, Yitbarach Veishtabach, Vitpar Vitroma Mitnase, Vitadar Vitale Vitalal, Shemei de Kudesha Berichu, Leila, Min Kol Berchata Veshirata, Tush Bechata Venechemata, Damiran Beolma, Veimeru.
Amen. Continue now with our call to worship, Baruch Hu, page 28, and together we stand.
Lai, 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 lai,
Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. As we transition from the appreciation of creation, which is the appreciation of night that we just did with the Baruch Hu, and then our blessing for thanking God for making night, we transition into the Shema. And the Shema, of course, speaks of God's oneness. And if we think of the word oneness, we can also connect to the word unity. And on this Shabbat, as we transition into the Shema, you're going to hear a tune of the Shema that, my guess, everyone in the room has heard before. It is not a new tune. It is a tune that we've done before, but there is a particular unity to the tune that we're going to use for the Shema tonight. And I want us to just reflect on that and keep it in our minds. We'll be talking about it a little bit later. But as we think of unity and oneness, and this particular tune of Shema, hold that with you, just that oneness of God, but also the idea of the unity, like I mentioned, and we'll carry it with us throughout our service. Page 3435.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue Ve'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. We continue on the top of page 39. 39. Let's read that top paragraph together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together, Micha Mocha on page 40.
כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, רוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אליהו ואמרו, זה אליהו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Praise you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. We continue on the top of page 43. Let's read that little paragraph together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. We may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. 42.
השיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, shelter of your peace over us. Guide us with wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us with hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
And so we have to mention the beautiful tune for the Hashkivenu by Dan Nichols. And Dan Nichols will be joining us in our congregation. He will in February. So he will be here. And he is quite famous in the Jewish world. And we hope that you will all join us for not only our service he'll be leading that Friday night of that weekend, but also a concert he'll be holding that Sunday afternoon of that same weekend in February 26, 7, whatever that weekend is. Yes, he will be here, and he is phenomenal. And not only will you appreciate his music, but you will appreciate his menschlichkeit, his brilliance, his kindness, his Judaic knowledge and level, and just his all-around menshiness. So it'll be really wonderful to have him. We will be plugging said incredible experience many times between now and February. In fact, you might think, oh my gosh, are they related to Dan Nichols? We are not, but we are just fans of Dan Nichols. And so that was a Dan Nichols tune for us in Hashkivenu. With that sort of good feeling of Dan Nichols and the good feeling of Hashkivenu, the idea that God takes care of us and protects us, we connect that beautiful Shabbat feeling and notion into the words of the Amidah, which we continue on page 46, and together we stand.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid HaTal, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך. ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים מכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל
HaKadosh. We take some time now for our own silent prayers, thoughts, and meditations, beginning on page 52, going through page 62. When you're finished, please be seated. We continue Shalom Rav on page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol נכסים לעולם.
I'm a big fan of soundtracks. Are soundtrack fans? You into soundtracks? Yeah, really, really big into soundtracks. I really, really like them. I like all soundtracks because I feel like they really move the movie with you. I'm a movie fan. So if you're a movie, I'm a movie fan. And so because of that, I also think I love soundtracks. So I think they move the movie along really well. I also think there are iconic soundtracks, though, that really make the movie. So thank you. So John Williams, thank you, is an example of John Williams. So what's a John Williams example? Star Wars, thank you. So if you know the Star Wars soundtrack, it's part of the movie. I mean, it's actually like a character in the movie is the soundtrack, I feel like. What's another example? Superman, thank you. Superman is part of the soundtrack. It has that that iconic sound to it. What are some other examples? Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, you can. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Dun da dun da dun da da. Right? You can picture him like riding with the hat or escaping or right. So what's another iconic? E.T. is a great one. Anyone other than Cantor Muchnick want to share? E.T. is a great one though. Yes. Was that? Ooh, Rocky. Dun 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 dun. Right. So right. These are yes. Oh, Back to the Future. Yeah. Thank you. What's the Back to the Future one? How does that go? Dun dun dun. No, that's how's the Back to the Future go? Now I'm having Indiana Jones stuck in my head. It's going to come to me. So yes. Da 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 da. That's thank you. Okay, I feel better. All right, thank you. There's also Jurassic Park is on my list. Thank you very much. Jurassic Park's on my list. How about you do? I saw it last night or late this morning. We talked about it. Dirty Dancing, right? Has an iconic soundtrack, right? I got a lot of heads everyone. People were like, oh yeah, it's Jurassic Park, but everyone was happy with that one. Oh, West Side Story. See, now we're talking like some Fiddler on the Roof. Right? Nice, good. Right? How about Saturday Night Fever? Right? Saturday Night Fever has that iconic with that strut and that sort of soundtrack. Jaws is my number one. Jaws is right. ABBA's on the list, right? So nice. So was that? Grease is on my list too. Everyone's doing so well. Nice, excellent, good. Grease, and I had one more, which is kind of random. What's that? Oh, Exodus is nice. That's good. Officer and a Gentleman. It's actually on a list that I read today. It's not on my list, but yes, thank you. Oh, that's on my list too. Godfather. Right, that was it. There was someone at my high school, by the way, who was such a fan of The Godfather. He made it his horn. So you could hear him coming into school every day because you could hear it down the hall. I was like, okay, he's here. His name was Mario, which also kind of worked, but yeah. And the last one I had was that Close Encounters is a good one. Yes. There's one more, and I put Psycho because that sound, right? That sort of that sound, right? So all of them give you this emotion, right? It gives you this emotion. The soundtrack blends into the movie. You feel it. It's kind of who it is for you. And so I actually want to talk to you about a soundtrack today, or soundtracks today. It is lovely and joyous to connect to soundtracks, but also complicated and sad because I want to mention a man named Tzvika Pik. Tzvika Pik, an Israeli man, actually died this past Sunday, and he was known in most circles as one of the most iconic Israeli singers and songwriters that actually became not just soundtracks and not just music on the radio, but the soundtrack for Israel. meaning the themes that connected to Israel came from a man named Tzvi Kapik. I want to give a little credit, by the way, for some of the citations and ideas to my good friend, Rabbi Josh Weinberg. I always want to give credit to colleagues who helped me out. And I've known Josh for 1,000 years, but he has the longest name, the longest title, and I have to write it down. So he is the VP of the Union for Reform Judaism for Israel and Reform Judaism, and he's also the executive director of the Association of Reform Zionists of America. So I got to write it down every time I talk about Josh, but I love Josh. And so Josh, with his inspiration a little bit, and my love of Tzvi Kapik, I want to talk to you about this idea of the soundtrack. Now, particularly when I mentioned the Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adon Tzvi Kapik. So that is a soundtrack that we might know, and there's going to be another soundtrack that I will save for after I speak, and you will also think to yourself, what? That's Tzvi Kapik? You're not going to believe it, because I actually didn't believe it, and I brought it up to the cantor, and he didn't believe it, because he is such iconic and sort of enmeshed in Jewish and Israeli society that you didn't even know it was his. And this is a man who sadly died at a young age and on Sunday. And I'll tell you my personal connection is that I am lucky enough to be a dual citizen. I'm an American and an Israeli, and I grew up in my mom's from Israel, my dad's from Hungary, and I grew up, and of course, they met in Queens, where all Jews meet, and then I ended up in Florida, where all Jews end up, and then here I am. So it all kind of works out perfectly, and so here I am making this nice connection. And I grew up with Tzvi Kapik in the car, in the soundtrack in the car. So he was actually a soundtrack to my life as well, because all day I was listening to it in the cassette tapes in the car, all over and over. Some people in the room probably don't even know what that is, but I think most people know what a cassette tape is. So it was in the car, and it became part of who I was. In fact, I was listening to his music all day today in my office, and there were a couple of the pieces of music that I actually even myself forgot they were his. And I actually went back and around them, and I was like, oh my God, that's Tzvi Kapik. I had no idea. And so there's this idea about sounds or music or people or iconic moments getting into your kishkas. They end up inside of you. They're not superficial. They're like in there. It's almost like the iconic sounds that we heard from all the movies, because they're in there. The second you would hear any one of those soundtracks, you know instantly which movie it's from. There are more obscure soundtracks, but you're always going to know Star Wars. You're always going to know Jaws. You're always going to know Jaws, no matter what, right? And so there are a few of these, and it was Tzvi Kapik who entered the soul and the persona of the Israeli. And so we have to really honor him. I also want to mention, it's interesting because I sang the Shema, right? I mean, the words of the Shema are from the Torah. It's interesting also, so last week's Torah portion had the first paragraph of the Shema. This week's Torah portion, which connects beautifully to what I'm saying, is called Ekev. It has the second paragraph of the Shema in it, and Tzvi Kapik is known for his rendition of the Shema, which we heard earlier. So there's a little bit of a connection for us this week also. And then he has this other beautiful connection. He wrote many songs, and many were popular. But he also had one that he connected to the month of Av, which is the month that we're in now, the Jewish month, and the month of Elul, which is the month that we're going into that precedes the high holidays, and he wrote a song about that connects for us. And here's the last thing that I want to say about Tzvi Kapik and about getting into the neshama of all of us. And that is, not only was he this warm, cuddly, neshama-filled guy, but he liked to push the limits as well. So if you think of what Cantor Muchnick sang for us, right? Or chanted the words of Shema. Again, the words of Shema are from Torah. But Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael. So we repeated the same sentence over and over and over again. And by the way, if you are a traditional, more Orthodox Jew, particularly, and I want to get the year right, I think that it was in 1973, traditionally you are not supposed to say the prayer more than one time. It becomes superfluous. Your job is to fulfill saying a prayer, but stop saying it over and over and over again, because then it's as if the blessing isn't kosher anymore. And so the discussion, this is true, by the way. And so the discussion was Tzvika Peak also pushing a little on the Orthodox movement, which is possible because he was this icon, to say, I just wrote this very popular song. By the way, it was all over the place, on all of the radios, all over the country. And here it was repeating over and over and over the Shema, and in the ears of the Orthodox, and it was a little bit terrorizing for the Orthodox. And it's unclear if Tzvika Peak just sat back and thought to himself, here's my masterpiece. Not only did I win so many awards for the music, not only did it become iconic, but I also got a little bit of a, because he was a very, very, outspoken secular Israeli and not an Orthodox Israeli. And so he really pushed at it. So here's what I want us to think about on the Shabbat as we move into Shabbat. I want us to think about soundtracks. I want us to think about how they affect us, and I want us to think about maybe if we were to write our own soundtrack of our own life, what would that sound like and feel like? What would make it iconic? What music? What overtone? How would it feel? Would it be melodic? Would it be strong or weak? Would it have a variety of tones in it? Because this month, as he tells us in his music, the month of Av is about to end, and we start Elul next week, which means we start the month leading into the holidays. And so our soundtracks leading into the high holidays, I think, need to be polished and strong for us to think about what is our mission, what is our statement, what are we saying, what is the soundtrack we want to put out there in the world? And so I invite all of you on the Shabbat, not just to think about Tzvika Peak, and maybe even look him up if you want to. His last name is P-I-K. Peak, P-I-K. To listen to some of his stuff, but also to find a moment where you would maybe examine what your own soundtrack would be. Not just on the Shabbat, but as we creep very closely to the month of Elul and into doing some deeper introspection for all of us. Shabbat Shalom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
Do you know that tune? Tzvika Peak. Tzvika Peak. And so, as the words say in Shechianu, blessed are you and I, our God, who is the universe, who gives us life, who sustains us, and brings us this very special moment together. hope we have a wonderful Shabbat as we think of those moments and those soundtracks. We also think of the legacies and connections and strengthening that we can bring to those in our community who might be in need of healing, a physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. On this Shabbat, we think of Chava Leah, but Esther, Gary Bandel, Daniel Bernstein, Gloria Bernstein, Lillian Bichelle, Sloan Caston, Brian Church, Karen Coles, Chuck Curry, Cheryl Cutler, Cassie Daskell, Mark Davis, John Day, Jaden Deal, Judith Dratler, Martin Edelman, Dr. Jesse Gachman, Ira Kafka, Shmuel Ben Cheka Rivka, Naomi Kirstein, Howard Rosenbluth, Richard Rosenbluth, Joan Seidman, Craig Marks, David Field, Howard Kleinberg, Robert Kay, Shirley Kafka, Bettina Kaplan, Gary Kane, Bonnie Kleinman, Michelle Kingen, Esther Rhoda Kaufman, Gloria Land, Michelle Liebman, Michael Medoff, Lydia Nachum, Barbara Newmark, Linda Greenblatt Neuwirth, Gloria Plotsky, Elliot Porowich, Mark Rosenberg, Lillian Rosenblatt, Menachem Yoshua Ben Sara, Diane Spiro, Gaia Bat Yehuda Vemisha, Aryeh Benjamin Kenny, Debbie Goldsmith, Ralph Gary, Carol Porowich, Itza Chana, Bella Bat Rivka, Matthew Duque, Rena Fields, Elaine Reiner, Moshe Yehuda Ben Binyamin Vesimcha. To those names, we add any name that you would like to add at this time. Mishaberach can be found on page 253. Some announcements for us tonight. First, we are still amidst our back-to-school supply drive. So please, from now till August 31st, drop off, bring in, send over, go right to our Amazon site. We have an Amazon Smile site. You can just order it on Amazon through our site, and it'll magically appear at the synagogue. You don't even have to go anywhere. You can just magically just appear. Boom, just beams down. Ken Muchnick runs and gets the stuff in his spare time.
A little bell goes off in my office, and I
Just run out and get the stuff, yeah.
That's what I do around here.
The supplies will be donated to the Boys and Girls Club, to Boca Elementary School, to Jafco Children's Village, and the American Association of Caregiving Youth. So all of those things, please, please. We're also going to be having our Welcome Back to Shul weekend, and we've been saying this for a while, but now it is next weekend. So next weekend on the 26th at 6:30 p.m., remember, not in the chapel, in the sanctuary, we'll be having our service. We'll be inviting and introducing everyone that works at Congregation B'nai Israel to introduce themselves, so that everyone gets to meet all the people who really, really make this a holy place for all of their hard work. So we'll be saying hi to everybody. There is a lovely oneg afterwards because, I mean, come on. So there's going to be a lovely oneg afterwards. So hopefully you'll join us tomorrow at 6:30. And then on Shabbat next week, join us, Shabbat morning, of course, in this very room. You can come back to the chapel. We'll be having our Torah study and service. Services next week go back on Shabbat morning to 8:30. We were at 9 through the summer. Those were our summer late hours. We are going back into the early morning work hours now that we're all back to work. So it's 8:30. And then next Sunday, the 28th, from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. is our Welcome Back Bash. We're going to have food trucks, I don't even know, 6, 7 different food trucks here. We're going to have bingo and water slides, and the Brotherhood's going to be doing all kinds of things. There's going to be a Name That Tune. Cantor Muchnick's going to be juggling. It's going to be really, really fabulous. He has like these, you're going to use the fire ones this time? The
with
fire,
the spears.
with the spears, yeah, it's going to be amazing. So that's going to be really great. But the food trucks are amazing, and well, he's going to slide too with the juggling.
I do it all here.
He's very talented. There's drop the rabbi off at home for napping. That's what it's called. Yes, it's great. And so there's all that, and this is no cost. So come and hang out, and the food trucks. I actually heard we had to up the food trucks today because we're around 230 people already registered for this. So come on and hang out. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful day. We also start religious school that morning, so we're going to have all the kids here. It's going to be great. It's going to be super fun. Also that day, in connection with the school supplies, you can bring your school supplies on that day also if you want to. Okay. We also have the Brotherhood kickoff. The Barry Glick Brotherhood kickoff is September 29th. That's at Duffy's at St. Andrews. We'll be talking more about that. We're going to watch the Dolphins play the Bengals. So that's going to be great. And then in October, we'll talk about this more, is Bourbon and Bros. That's in the Sukkah. So that's when Sukkot's coming up. And lastly, we are going to Israel. Congregation B'nai Israel is having a pilgrimage, a trip to Israel. Hopefully you'll join us. June 11th through the 22nd. We have some more registrations other than the original ones now here. So we're very excited to go to Israel. It's a great trip. We're staying in incredible places. We're going to have a great crew of people who are going. Mostly, I have to tell you, the food's going to be delicious because it's going to be in Israel. And we also are going to have the best guide ever. So if you've been to Israel, come back again because it's going to be a different tour educator than you've ever had in your life. She's incredible. So she's a good friend of mine. I'm not going to tell you her name. You have to come to Israel. Her name is Sharon. So her name is Sharon Wagner Zotter. She is incredible, and she is from England originally and now lives in Israel, so everything she says with the British accent sounds brilliant because she's a Brit. Cantor Muchnick now has the next set of announcements for us. Go ahead.
Aleinu.
Okay, we're gonna conclude our service, Aleinu and then Kaddish. Aleinu can be found on page 282, and together we stand.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We transition our thoughts now to Kadisha Tom, to mourners Kaddish. On this Shabbat, we think of in the period of Shloshim, the immediate 30-day mourning period, we think of Robert A. Rosen, Erwin Diamond, and Florine Sprung. And the yortzites that occur for us on the Shabbat: Herbert Edelman, Michelle Baum, Jesse Bierman, Gary Brody, Michael Cannon, Sadie Cohen, Randy Cowan, Grace Elkins, Stanley Hyman, Charles H. Kenny, Ben Kessel, Augusta Polarstock, Janet Tessler. To those names, we had any name that you would like to add at this time? Kadisha Tom Mourners Kaddish can be found on page 294. Yitgadal v'yikadash mirabah, v'alma divrach yuteh, v'amlich malchuteh, b'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabah mevorach leolam, omer maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei rekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran barma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shamaya, chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom in romav, v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, as together we say, amen. Please be seated. One last quick announcement to help Susie out, who is our, I mentioned her when she lit our Shabbat candles. She is our ritual chair. Please help her. She is in charge of helping to assign all the high holiday honors. So please be kind. If you already know if you're going to go to the early service or the late service, email us. Email Cantor Much can tell us. Email me. Call the office. There's a form you can fill out. You can send a sparrow to us. Just let us know, because it'd be easier for us to know if you're coming early or late. So if you know for sure you're coming to the early service, the late service, let us know. That way we can figure everything out. That would be really, really great. We are going to conclude our service with the words of Tfilat HaDerech, and I'm going to look for the page because it's here somewhere. Tfilat HaDerech. Where is it? It starts with a T. Tfilat HaDerech. I know it's here. I should have had it. And it is on 345. 345.
May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May find a way to every soul. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen.
Adonai oz lamo yiten, Adonai varech et amo v'shalom. May God give strength unto our people, continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.